Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum. Thanks for joining our reseller sales training this afternoon. So before I start, let me introduce myself. So my name is Ilyas, and I'm from Internet Now. So we are actually the company that created this particular solution, ThermalNow. In addition to that, we also distribute the camera, DALI camera. If you do have some friends who would like to view this or join this session, but they have not been able to log in onto Zoom, or maybe you don't want to use Zoom for security reasons, you are free to actually join us on YouTube. So this session is also broadcasted on or streamed onto YouTube right now. I will share to you the link to the YouTube video, the YouTube live streaming right now. So yeah, feel free to check on your group chat there. So you can also follow us on YouTube right now. Okay, so without much further ado, let's get right into the training for today. So first of all, I just want to say thanks to many of you who already have actually started to promote and sell our solutions over the last few weeks during this MCO. Really appreciate that. Today, I will basically give more detailed training on the ThermalNow. Many of you already have some basic information regarding about this solution. It's just that you need a bit more detail in terms of how to consult your customer, how to quote to your customer. So I'll go a bit more detail in that area. So if you have any questions, just type them into the chat window. I'll try to answer them on the spot. If not, I'll go back towards the end. Okay. So today, Internet Now, we carry two products, ThermalNow as well as DALI camera. So what we are seeing in the market is that there are two types of customers. There are two segments of customers. So the first market requirement that we are seeing is whereby the customer need to be able to do a thermal screen for their employees safely, obviously, not using thermometer, which is not practicing social distancing. And secondly, they need to be able to record those temperature, those daily temperature that they take for at least 90 days. So this is part of the requirement from MITI. So, and then in addition to this, they also need to be able to record the visitors' information for the purpose of contact tracing. So that means if, let's say, for example, there is an outbreak at their place, they will be able to track who are the visitors that have been possibly exposed and need to be quarantined, right? So these are basically from our experience selling this over the last few weeks. What we the number one type of customers that we are seeing right now is factories. So these factories, some of them have been operating since the first week of the MCO. So these fall under essential services. So think about the food manufacturers. And then we are also seeing more and more over the last 1 or 2 weeks, basically allowed to operate. They also need to do the screening for their construction workers. So, and the third type of customers that we are seeing with this first requirement is officers. But these are actually in smaller numbers at the moment because many of the offices actually have not opened yet. But we predict that over the next couple of weeks, there will be more and more companies from offices as companies start to think about how they want to reopen their offices, what kind of screening they want to be able to do for their office. Okay, so that is the first type of customers, or the first type of requirement. And the solution that we carry for this requirement is what we call ThermalNow. So ThermalNow is a facial recognition terminal, and it comes with a thermal sensor. Okay, so that is the part that you see at the top here. And it also is able to record the employees' details. That means using facial recognition, it's able to identify who is that employee and then record the time that the employee came in, as well as the temperature of the person, of the employee. So this is the main solution that I'll be covering more in this session. If you're interested in the second solution, which is the thermal camera, that actually there's already a training that was pre-recorded. I'll share the YouTube link to that later on, so you can watch that actually at your own free time. Okay, so the second market requirement that we are seeing in Malaysia at the moment is where the customer want to quickly thermal screen large number of users, large number of human traffic. They are not interested to register these people, neither are they interested to identify who they are. So they just want to make sure that these people don't have a fever, and then to quickly allow them to go into their premise. So we are talking about places like a shopping mall. Yeah, I know that a lot of the retail currently are not open, but many of them actually have already starting to work out a plan, a strategy on how they can reopen back their business after the MCO ends. So at the moment, there's no clear-cut guide from the government in terms of what must be done. But many of the stores that we have talked to, they are already proactively thinking about how to make sure that they have an SOP to make the customers more confident to shop. So they are not sure whether they're going to, the shopping mall themselves will be providing screening, and they're not counting on that. So many of the smaller retail are already taking plans to protect their own restaurants and their own stores. So they do the screening themselves. Secondly is school. So this is also another very hot market, especially private schools. So as you know, most of the private schools, they probably can afford this type of solution, and their customers, are high-paying customers. So most of the parents expect that the school put in some sort of protection for their kids, even the amount of money that they're paying to the schools. So we actually have sold to a number of private schools here in Kuala Lumpur, and actually we're only touching the surface because there's hundreds of private schools and private colleges in Malaysia. And the third is government officers. So with government officers, again, a lot of the time they're not interested to really do any kind of facial recognition. So they're just interested to just scan the people as they come in, especially the visitors, and to allow them to come in if they don't have any temperature. So for the second requirement, what we have is actually a thermal camera. So we carry a solution from China called DALI. As I said just now, you want to know more about DALI, later I will share the link to the session that I did about DALI. That was more detailed with a live demo. But basically, in short, this type of technology, this kind of camera is different from the first solution just now, which is a facial terminal, in the sense that this is very fast scanning. So you're able to scan many people at one shot. The biggest camera that we have can scan 30 people at one time. So you think about like KLIA, right? After you landed at KLIA, as you exit the gate and you come through to the immigration, they have a camera there. So this is the type of technology that we are talking about. People don't need to stop, look at the terminal, like the facial terminal. They can just continue walking. So the DALI camera is able to find the heads of the people walking, and it can scan these people for as far as from 10 meters away. So they don't need to stop, they can just walk through. And this kind of camera are also more accurate, okay, compared to a facial terminal, because they use what we call a black box technology. So they're able to give accuracy, which is the best that's available in the market, which is plus minus 0.3 of degree Celsius. And as I said, it can work long range, up to 10 meters is able to detect the temperature already. Also, unlike the first solution, the ThermalNow with a facial recognition terminal, you actually don't need to do any kind of setup. It's quite straightforward to set up. Just stick it on a tripod. The solution comes in a tripod. Connect to power, and then to a computer screen or to PC, and you're up and running. Basically, you can set the whole thing up within like 30 minutes. Very, very simple. Compared to the first solution just now, the facial terminal, that requires a bit more work. Unfortunately, this kind of camera has no integration with time attendance or door access. So, like I said, this is used when you don't care about who are the people walking through. You just want to be able to scan them very, very quickly and make sure that they have no temperature. Okay, so let's jump into the first solution, ThermalNow. The first solution is actually much more in demand at the moment. So if you are trying to decide which one you want to focus on, actually solution number one, this ThermalNow, is the better solution right now. Like I said, the reason for this is because some of the customers who are looking for the second solution, the thermal camera, they might not be in operation at the moment, right? Many of them are working from home. So it's a bit more difficult to reach out to them. Whereas for ThermalNow, the people that are using this, they are already in business. Those who need this are already in business. So, like I said, these are people who've already gotten permission from MITI to operate. Some of them, they've been operating since the first week of the MCO. Some are just opening up very, very soon, maybe in the next week. I think you have seen also yesterday, there's news that MITI has also approved those companies that have been given permission to operate during the MCO to be able to now operate at full capacity. So some of those factories, if you imagine, they've been doing it manually before because they were running at partial capacity. Now maybe they're running at full capacity, 500, 600, 700 factory workers. So they might have problem trying to record these temperatures manually. Okay, so at the heart of the solution for ThermalNow is a facial recognition terminal. Okay, so we are actually using the hardware from Hikvision. So some people in Malaysia pronounce it as HIK Vision. Okay, so let me just share with you, if you have not seen how it works, let me share with you this this particular video. One second. So we actually have a reseller friendly video. So this is basically a video where there is no contact information of Internet Now. So you can freely share it with your customers. Okay, so I hope you can see the screen. So excuse all the Man United videos on the right hand side there. Hope there's no Liverpool fan in this session today.
Authenticated. Please wear a face mask. Please wear a face mask. Please wear a face mask. Authenticated. Abnormal temperature. Abnormal temperature. Abnormal temperature.
Okay, so let me just share with you the link to that video. So like I said, this is a reseller friendly video, so you can actually share this to your customers. It has no contact information of Internet Now. Okay, so there's a question that says from you here whether the the mask wearing recognition, whether it can be turned off. Yeah, definitely. So if let's say after the MCO, you want to you actually want to make sure that you don't force mask wearing anymore. So that actually can be turned off. In fact, the mask wearing feature can actually be controlled in such way whereby you can choose whether you want to just alert the person, to remind them to wear a mask, or whether you want to actually force them to wear a mask. So when we say force them to wear a mask, what that means is if you connect this solution to a door, then it will not open the door. Okay, so you can also control in that way. Okay, so yeah, like I said just now, the hardware that we are using is powered by Hikvision, and this particular solution, ThermalNow, is able to record the staff ID just through facial recognition together with the temperature. Additionally, it also can be used to replace touch-based time attendance. So when you talk to these factories, a lot of them are still using fingerprint time attendance. And as you can imagine, fingerprint time attendance is not the best of ideas right now. It's the easiest way to spread the virus. In fact, what the factories are doing is that they are putting sanitizers just before the fingerprint station, and then they force all the workers to sanitize their thumb, their hands before they actually check in or clock in. In addition, the solution also comes with a visitor registration system, which comes with a COVID-19 form. I'll go into more detail on this later on. And lastly, the solution is able to integrate with your door or your turnstile gate. Okay, so here is some deployment ideas. Okay. So if you look at factories, this is a typical scenario that we see a lot of the time. So the factories normally they would have like a security hut where the workers where they need to come in and then clock in. So some of them they have a turnstile like this, turnstile gate, and some do not. So so basically, for example, in this case, you will see that at the back here, these two black panel is the current fingerprint terminals. So and then they have turnstile gate, which is running on card-based access. So what we do is we can replace both of these using the terminal. So basically what you see here, we can put this terminal either on the wall, okay, if that is permitted, or we can put it above the turnstile. So this thing can be put on a pole, okay, and then it will be above the turnstile. Normally that is the setup for offices, because most of the big offices, they have a lot of turnstile gate entrance on the ground floor, right? So you put one of these terminal on each of the turnstile, and then or like in this photo, you can put it on a stand, right? So the easiest way, of course, is to put it on the stand, because you don't have to like drill into a wall or drill into the turnstile. But you have three options. I got a question here. So it says that do we have to key in all the staff details into database? And then if so, how about outside people? Okay, so yes, you have to import all the details of the staff into the system. We support importing via Excel format, so you can key in all the staff ID, the name into a CSV file, and then we can import that one shot. And then for the photos, of course, you have to take the photos. Either you can use existing photos. Some of the factories, they already have HR system with the photos of all the workers, or you can snap them using a webcam, or you can actually use this terminal also to snap the photo. So you could line all of them up, take their photo one by one to insert into the system. If you already have all the photos, again, we can import all the photos in one shot. Regarding about outside people, so for the outside people, that's where the visitor registration system comes in. So I will touch on the visitor registration system shortly. Okay, so in terms of implementation, right, normally we have possible 3 stages of implementation. So if you just want to quickly sell to the customer without having to do a lot of integration, then you can just sell them for the purpose of thermal recording. Okay, step number 1 here. So with thermal recording, is quite straightforward. You just need to have this terminal, and then you need to upload all the photos of the workers, and then install this terminal somewhere, and that's about it. So it will work independently from whatever time attendance, door access system that they have, totally independent. For or after that, you can go one extra level. So if you go one extra level, you can try to replace their fingerprint system. So this is where you can use the time attendance feature that is available with the solution. So we get a lot of questions in terms of like, can I integrate with my existing time attendance? Most of the time, we don't integrate with your existing time attendance. We replace your existing time attendance. But we will integrate with your payroll system. Yeah? Because most of the companies out there, their time attendance and the payroll system is separate. And what they do is they do exporting of the payroll file every month end, when they need to do the payroll. So we can do the same thing as well. So we can export the time attendance information, and then you can import it into your payroll. There are some who actually require integration with their payroll. So that means they want the data to be automatically transferred to the payroll. So this can be done, but it has to be on case-to-case basis, because we have to look at what is the time attendance software. What's the payroll software that you're using. Okay, the third stage of the implementation would be to integrate with a door access, or in this case, in this example, is using a turnstile. So this can replace, their existing card-based access system. So with this one, then we need to start, hooking up the terminal to your door or to your turnstile. But the device itself is designed for this. So before COVID-19 came about, this particular terminal has already been around for a couple of years from Hikvision, and it was used primarily for door access. So the after this COVID-19 happened, then they added the thermal sensor feature into the terminal. So it already was able to do time attendance and door access all this while. Okay, so let's have a look at another possible deployment scenario. So as I mentioned to you, factory is about, I think at the moment, 80% of our sales. But fast catching up is construction sites. So this is a typical implementation that we do for construction sites. So some of the construction sites, they have cabins. So we actually put this device in the cabin. This device can be outside, but it cannot be exposed. Okay, so the device itself is IP rating 65. So that means it's dust proof, as well as it can stand low jet, low water jet, but it's not meant, to be operated outside, So it actually has to be under proper shelter, right, away from sun, wind, and also water. So either you can put it in a cabin, if you have a container cabin, right, at the construction site, or if you do have a sheltered place, you can also put it under the shelter. So how the device is set up, but actually it's not that complicated. The terminal requires, of course, connection to power. So normally this will be connected to a power supply box, okay, which we can supply together with the terminal. Comes with a battery as well, and then it needs to have a network connection, RJ45 connection to your PC. Okay, so this PC can be on premise. It means inside the construction site, or for some plants. So we also have some customers who are using plant. They have plants like for cement plants. Um, you can also put the PC somewhere on the cloud as well. So basically, this PC is where the data is stored. But the device itself does not need to have connection to the PC in order for it to work. Okay, so if you put this PC somewhere further away where the connection might get disconnected, don't worry about that, because the device actually works offline. So all the photos will be stored on the device itself. Okay, so we upload the photo to the PC and then we push the photos to the device. And then the device also is able to store all the information about the temperature, everything on the device itself, up to 100,000 events. And then when it can when it can connect to a PC, it will push back all those data. So the device itself, can work offline. Okay. So it actually, there's a question here whether it can use PoE. The device itself no, does not support PoE. So you need to connect it to a 12-volt power socket. Okay, let's have a look into the terminal in a bit more detail. So, like I said before, we are using the terminal from Hikvision, okay, and there are many products that start to come out in the market today, doing something similar. But I think where we have a big advantage over other people is that the terminal that we're using is really solid. So there's a lot of solutions out there. Some of them are much cheaper also, but there's no information about where the terminal actually is coming from, who is the producer of the terminal, what kind of after-sales service they have, what kind of track record actually they have. So Hikvision obviously is the number one in terms of global market share for CCTV and video surveillance product worldwide. So we're actually using vanadium oxide uncooled sensor. The screen itself, you've seen just now in the video, is about the size of tablet, like iPad, mini iPad. So it's not that big, not that small either. It has an accuracy of 0.5 degree of Celsius, and it operates without any black box. Its recognition distance is from 0.3 to 2 meters. So you don't have to stand too close to the device in order for you to detect it. So this is important, like for example, for doors. Sometimes the tablet itself is put slightly, I mean, if you got a wide sliding door, right? So the device is put far to the side. So you don't have to like change your walking pattern to go to the terminal and then come back to the middle to come in. It's very, very fast. So the detection of the face is less than 0.2 of a second. And it's able to detect even if you're wearing a mask. So that's not a problem, okay? It supports it supports mask wearing alert. So I think earlier there was a gentleman that was asking a question about this. So this alert can be turned off as well after the COVID-19. If the person has a temperature, as you saw in the video just now, you can configure to trigger a voice prompt. Okay. The device itself is able to store 50,000 face photos, and is able to support 100,000 events. So this is what I was talking about just now. The device can work offline, so it doesn't need to be able to connect to the server in order for it to function. Everything can be stored on the device, and when you have connection back to the server, then it will be able to flash back all those information to the server for your reporting purposes. So it connects to the server using TCP/IP, normal TCP/IP. So you just need to have network connection from the terminal to your server. The suggested height for the recognition is the facial recognition is from 1.4 meters to 1.9 meters. So actually we can bring this device slightly further down, because I think in Malaysia we don't have that many people that is close to 2 meters in terms of height. But basically you can see the range. The range of the scan is quite wide, So the field of view is 50 degrees by 37 degrees. So it's able to support many different height of people. So you don't have to bend so much. But we do have one restaurant that was looking into this, so that, they were thinking of putting this at their restaurant sliding door. So for kids, you have to lift up the kid. Okay. It supports time attendance, as I mentioned before. So we support 6 different status. The first time you clock in, you clock out, during break, right? Break in, break out, and also overtime in and overtime out. And it has an audio prompt for the authentication result. So if, let's say, for example, you're using this terminal without connecting to a door, like for example, at a construction site or at a factory, then the audio alert as well as display on the screen, we will show green color to show that you have passed, so that at least the user know that the scan is completed, so they can walk on. Okay, so that's a bit more technical information on the device. So let me just quickly answer the questions that I have right now. So first of all, the stand. Just now I showed there's a stand, whether it's included or not. The stand is offered as an option. So later when we go into the code, how to code, I'll touch a bit more on that. So you can have a very nice stand from Hikvision, but it's very costly. You have to ship it all the way from China. Or you can use a locally made stand that we can provide. Okay. Then the next question, whether there's any software license or not, any software that we need to purchase. Yes, there's a software license. So I'll touch more on that later on during the quotation, how to quote part. Another question is, how does the device actually check whether it's check-in or check-out or break? Well, this is actually based on the time. So using the configuration software, you can actually configure the schedule or the shift for your factory workers. So you can specify normally what time they come in, what time they go out, and break is at what time and what time. Okay. Keep those questions coming. In the meantime, just want to let you know that the device itself comes with 2 years warranty, and Hikvision actually have service centers in 3 places in Peninsular Malaysia: Johor, Kuala Lumpur, and Penang. None yet in East Malaysia, but they're looking into opening one there soon. Okay, so earlier there was a question about how about those outsiders or visitors when they come to your site. So to handle this, we actually have a visitor registration system. So this is also very useful in offices because, as you know, before the MCO started, even some companies already was doing COVID-19 kind of self-declaration form for visitors to come to when they visit their office premise for the purpose of contact tracing. So now we can do all this using this terminal, and it's totally contactless. Okay, so the first step is you have to scan a QR code at the reception. So basically, you can put a QR code on the on your wall, okay, of your reception, okay. Then your visitor can use their mobile phone to just scan this QR code, and when they scan this QR code, they then will be able to access a form on their phone. Alternatively, you can send a link to your visitor, and they can actually fill in the form before they come to your office. Okay, just click on a link, and then you get the form online. Just fill it in. After that, in the step 2, you have to take a selfie of yourself. Okay? Take a selfie of yourself and then just submit it together with your form. And once you have done that, when you reach to the office, to the venue, all you have to do is just go to the terminal and scan your face. Okay, the system would already have your information, your form as well as your photo, so it will be able to recognize you, and it will record your temperature, and the receptionist or the security officer in step 4 will be able to see your information. So in step 4, you can just proceed to the reception counter for the next step to be decided by the receptionist. So this is basically how it works, and this is how the form actually looks like. So as I mentioned, we have 2 versions of the form. We have 2 versions of the form that is using web or mobile. Okay. So it asks about your travel history, about your health conditions, and who you are meeting. And this form is customizable. So if you have a customer that requires slightly different questions to be asked, not a problem. We are able to cater for that. There's a question here whether the visitor registration system records whether it reads my card. No, at the moment it doesn't read my card. And we are also trying to stay away from using this type of methods where there's touch. So I think after this, I'm also will be a bit wary about passing my IC to the security officer, right? Having so many people touching my card. Another question is whether this visitor registration is cloud-based or customer can host it. So we support both options. If you want it to be on the cloud, we can do that. Or if you want it to be on-premise, also possible. If you host it on-premise, then the customer must have a fixed IP, and we need to make sure that people can access the system from outside for the purpose of the form, right? So the form needs to be accessible from outside. But we support both ways. So if your customer don't allow for cloud, they can host it by themselves. Next question is whether the form can change to a different language. At the moment, no. At the moment, no. But I think we can fix that pretty fast. You know, if you do have a requirement of a customer that needs to be in a different language, maybe you're not selling here in Malaysia, you're targeting a market outside of Malaysia, let us know. You know, we can actually look into that quite fast. If another question is, if you are hosting it, can you support to all of your customers? Okay, if you are thinking about hosting this yourself, maybe on the cloud, you have to create separate installation for each of your customers. So the solution at the moment is it's not multi-tenant, right? So that means it's not like one system and then you can support multiple different companies. At the so you have to create maybe virtual. You need to create different instances, different VPS, for example, for each of your customers. I hope I answered that question for you. And then another question is whether the device actually supports wireless connection. No, the device currently doesn't support Wi-Fi, so you need to have a wired connection to the network. Where is the form hosted? James asked. Was it in Singapore? No. This form, I think maybe James is coming from Singapore, maybe. So the form currently, if we are hosting it, we're actually hosting it on Azure. On Azure. So I think with Azure, there's a number of locations. It can be, I think, in Singapore. In fact, I think Azure has one option to host it in Singapore or in US, Hong Kong, etc. Another question is, can the form be used for staff self-registration? Not really designed for that. Not really designed for that. So for the staff registration, we actually use a separate module to do that. So not for the database for visitor and for employees are separate. So this is not. I mean, you really can't use this for self staff registration. Is there any plans to open service center in Singapore? So it looks like we have quite a number of guys, resellers from Singapore today. Thank you for joining us today. Frankly speaking, I got to check with Hikvision whether they actually have service center in Singapore or not. I am not so sure about that. Okay, so this is the view of the receptionist. So basically, they will be able to see who are the people that just recently scan their temperature at the top. And if they click on show details, they will be able to see the details of the form, and they can decide, you know, whether they want to allow the person to come in or not. Okay. Of course, in addition to this, there's a dashboard for the administrator. So you can get statistics, analytics about the type of visitors that you've been having, and also whether when you want to do contact tracing, also we have some features to allow you to do search for users based on dates, based on floor that is visited, etc. Okay. So this is the dashboard for the employee's temperature. So as I mentioned to you just now, the employee side is actually separate from the visitor side. So this feature actually is offered by Hikvision. So you have information like the name of the staff that come in, gender, the temperature. You can even take photo as well if you want of the person as they come in, and you can get other information like the department that they are from, the gate that they come from. This will be the department, this will be the gate that they came from, the door that they came from. Okay. Okay. Other questions on warranty. So how's the warranty handled? So basically for the warranty, the customer needs to send the device to Hit Vision. If you subscribe for our on-site support, we actually are able to handle all of this for you. Our on-site supports also includes advanced hardware replacement, AHR. So that means as you submit your device, or as your customer submit the terminal for warranty claim, we will replace the terminal with our own first. Okay, so there will be minimal downtime. So question on where the data is stored. So I think Jenny joined us a bit maybe later just now. So the data is actually stored on the PC. So the solution needs to be connected to a PC or to a server. So this PC can be on-prem, so in the customer's own office, or you can actually put it on the cloud, whichever way that works best for you. Okay, another question here on how does it address PDPA compliance? So in Malaysia, we have this act called the Personal Data Protection Act. I think Singapore also there's something similar. So the act actually requires that before the customer, consumer, individuals like this submit their information to the company, they have to acknowledge it. So there's actually there's an acknowledgement page, okay, that the customer have to tick, right, to acknowledge that they are submitting this information for the purpose of contact screening. And then on the customer side, they have to take certain precautions to make sure that the data is safeguarded. So yeah, so those are the kind of policies that needs to be taken care. But on the software side, we allow you to be able to comply with all this regulation. But that's only half of the story. The customer needs to take certain other actions in order for them to protect the data. So it could be simple things as, in the PDPA Act, it says that, you have to use secure password, to make sure that nobody else can access to the system, blah, blah, blah. Another question is, one PC can handle how many devices? So it really depends on the spec of your PC. But a standard PC, the license that we provide allows you to connect to 16 devices, 16. Yeah. But if you spec your PC, your server to be higher spec, you actually can connect to hundreds of devices. Okay, so let's move on. Actually, this is, I think, the final part of our session today. That is, how are you going to quote to your customers? So each of you should have pricing from your distributors. Okay, so I will not be sharing the pricing here. But what I'll do is actually I talk more about the bills of material or the BOM that you can put inside your quotation. Okay. So there's a question also on our YouTube customer YouTube video. Can SOXO recognize this system for staff claiming in case accident happen during working hours? Good question. Mm, can recognize the system accident happened during working hours. I'm not sure what's the answer to that, frankly speaking. I guess I have to get back to you on that one. Okay, so in terms of how do we sell this, or rather how do we quote? So there are 4 items that is needed, okay, compulsory, the minimum that you need to quote to the customer uh, to set this thing up. So the first one is of course the facial recognition terminal, right, with the thermal feature. So that is the terminal itself, quite straightforward. Number 2 is the facial recognition software. It comes with the time attendance software. You only need to have one of these. So regardless of how many terminal you have, you only need to have one of these software. Because this software will then be installed onto item number 4, which is a PC. So normally we don't quote the PC itself because most of the customers already have a machine which they can install this to. If they are already using heat vision, CCTV, the software is already there, right? They don't need to buy again. Or you can just quote any mid-range PC for this purpose. So as I mentioned to you just now, this item number 2, the license itself supports up to 16 devices. Item number 3 is the power supply box. Okay, so the power supply box, it comes with a battery. This is even more critical if you're installing in office, where you want to make sure that if there's a power cut, the electromagnetic lock for your door, right, will still work. Yeah. So yeah, really 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the minimum that you need in order for this thing to be set up. Okay, then we have the optional modules, 5, 6, and 7. So 5 is actually the visitor registration system. So some places, they don't have any visitors at all. For example, some factories. So all they are interested to do is to just record the temperature of the factory workers, the operators, and that's it. So for visitor registration, they rely on the existing system that they have. So that's why the visitor registration module is actually optional. But if you can, you try to convince the customer, to use this registration system because it's actually contactless, right? It has all the COVID-19 forms in there. It can do contact tracing easily. So if you want to quote this visitor registration system, which I highly advise you do, we have 3 different tier, A, B, and C. So we try to make it very simple. So we have 3 options: basic, intermediate, and advanced. And this is actually counted based on the size of the company, not based on the number of visitors that they have. Because I think most people, they don't know how many visitors that they actually receive. So we don't calculate based on the number of visitors that you receive, just based on the size of the company. So if the corporation that you're selling to has 500 staff or below, then it's under basic. If you are between 500 and 1,000, you go for intermediate. And if you're more than 1,000, go for advanced. Simple as that. Okay. Then number 6 is the installation training, the professional services. Please note that whatever pricing that you get from your distributor or from us, it's just estimates. Okay, it's just estimate because you need to do a site survey to give the exact quotation. In fact, I think most of you can do all this yourself. Being system integrators yourself. So yeah, you can quote this to your customer based on your own pricing if you can do yourself. So first of all, you need to have some sort of power cabling to the terminal, right? Secondly, you need to have network cabling again to the terminal. And then after that, you have a few options in terms of how you want to mount it. You can either mount it on a wall, okay? Mounting on the wall, again, depends on how fancy your customer's installation is. So if they have very fancy ID, interior design work that's been done, then probably will cost you a lot more, right? In order for you to mount it nicely to conceal all the cables. Alternatively, you can mount it on a turnstile. So if you mount it on a turnstile, we actually will include a pole also for you to put it on the turnstile. Or you can mount it on a stand, like in the photo that I showed just now in the factory. So when we quote for this, we also include the cost of the stand as well. So the stand, there are two types of stand. There's one that is locally fabricated. So that's from us, much cheaper. Or if you, again, if your customer location is really, really fanciful, you can get the official stand from Hikvision. That one is really, really nice, really fanciful, but it costs much more as well. Our stand, actually, you have to screw it to the floor, okay, to make sure that it's sturdy. HIK or Vision stand is very heavy already, so you don't need to do anything, no holes on the wall. Okay, and then next is the software installation. So software installation, again, we have two items. First is just to install the facial detection and the time attendance portion. And second one is visitor management system as well, if your customer decides to go with the visitor management system. After that, we have training. So again, the training is broken into two parts. One is if you don't use visitor registration system, so that's just basic on the facial recognition and the time attendance. And the second one is additional training if you're also using the visitor registration or visitor management. Okay, and then lastly is the support. So this is another optional package where we provide unlimited support for your customers. And then it also comes with AHR, advanced hardware replacement. And at the moment, the pricing that we released is just for Klang Valley, okay? But we're also working on pricing for outside of Klang Valley. Okay, so those are basically the items that you can quote to your customers. As I mentioned, 1, 2, 3, 4 is compulsory. 5, 6, 7 you can choose and decide what you need. So you notice that that your customer have. So we clearly mark those as per terminal. So if you are selling sorry, I was muted just now. Yeah, sorry, I actually got disconnected. So I guess that's pretty much our session for today. If you have any questions which I have not answered, please post the questions again because I lost all the questions just now after I got disconnected. Okay, Core asking for the pricing. Yes, sure. We will send you the pricing afterwards. Somebody was asking about training, I believe, just now before I got disconnected. How many people, the training is for. We don't really set any limit for the training, because the training is mainly for administrators, right? So we don't expect to have so many people in the training session. So I think anything below 10 is okay, no problem. Um, there's a question here. Okay, so the visitor registration, if it's less than 500 users, is there a limit on the number of visitors that you can register? Um, there's no limit in terms of how many visitors that you register. So like I said, we actually wanted to make the licensing simple, so we don't count based on the number of visitors. So we just uh, charge you based on the size of the company that you're selling to, how many employees that they have. Of course, if the company got 1,000 users, let's not try to sell to them the license below 500 lah. Okay. Another question is, what's the duration of the training? The training only takes a couple of hours, so it's not very long. Yes, the training will be done on site if you're in Klang Valley. If you're outside of Klang Valley, you can decide whether you want us to come over. We'll charge a bit extra to do the training on-prem. Or nowadays, it looks like a lot of people are doing everything all online, right? So maybe if your customer want to save costs, we can do the training online as well. The other question is, can you mount the power supply box on the stand itself? Okay, if you use the Hikvision one, it's actually very nice. Okay, I believe you can actually hide the power box with the stand itself. For the stand that comes from us, you can't. It's a very simple one. You have to put the power supply box somewhere else, hide it somewhere else. The standard warranty, whether you can extend it after 2 years, no, you cannot. So only 2 years. After that, you have to send the device for repair to Hikvision if there's any problem. The device does not support Wi-Fi, only wired connection, RJ45. How fast can the HR be replaced if it's in Klang Valley? 1 working day. So we keep stocks. So yeah, you can replace it within a day. 1 working day. Okay, any other questions? So if no other questions, then I'd like to thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. To my Muslim friends, selamat berbuka puasa soon, and let's hope that we can capitalize on this opportunity. There's so many companies actually looking for this at the moment. We have to move fast in order for us to capture the opportunity. Okay, thanks everyone.